Hello viewers, and thank you so much for joining me, Costa, on Museum TV, and this is the agenda. Well, the opposition, the main opposition in Zimbabwe, the MDC battle continues, and no one knows how this is going to play out. To just have a digress on this, I'm joined by MDC Alliance Secretary for Presidential Affairs, Mr. Nelson Chamisa, to discuss some of the issues that the opposition is facing. Mr. Chamisa, I must welcome you to the agenda.
Thank you very much.
What is your reflection on the ongoing MDC battle?
Well, first up, I think we need to put this so-called battle in its proper context. This is not an MDC battle. This is a battle of ZANU-PF and Idi Mnangagwa against the democratic forces in Zimbabwe. As you recall, we came out of the 2018 elections, which were disputed, and that dispute is still pending on the table. Our presidential candidate performed extremely well, garnering 2.6 million votes. We maintain that the will of the people was not respected in the outcome of that election as announced.
Mr. Chamisa, I want to hold you. I want to understand something before we proceed. You are saying it's not the MDC battle, but it's ZANU-PF.
It is.
You are putting ZANU-PF in your own battles, because in as much as I understand, the Supreme Court really mentions, it has to do with how power was a succession issue, from 2018, when the part founding father, Dr. Richard Morgan Tsvangirai, died. And surely it can't be a ZANU-PF issue.
That is the sad part. When people actually do not have a fuller context and perspective of what is happening in this country. The key issue is that ZANU-PF does not want to see an opposition in this country. The key issue is that ZANU-PF would like to have what you would call a pliant opposition in this country, an opposition that dances to the tune of the ruling party. You cannot look at what is happening in the MDC now out of context. You have to look at the proposals which are being made to amend the constitution. These proposals are intended to create an imperial presidency, taking us back where we were before the 2013 constitution, to a situation where you have a de facto one-party state, so to speak. ZANU-PF does not want to see President Chamisa's name in any ballot paper moving forward. There have been issues over the legitimacy of Mr. Mnangagwa.
Mr. Chamisa, I understand all this, but I'm still not convinced how ZANU-PF comes in, because you also appealed to the court against this Supreme Court judgment, didn't you?
You mean against the High Court judgment?
Yes, you did appeal, and then you proceeded and hold a congress in Guerrero. Yes. So I'm failing to be convinced on how ZANU-PF comes in now. This is your own issue.
No, it is not. If you take yourself back to how we got into the High Court in first place, before we get to the Supreme Court, take yourself back how we got into the High Court. We got into the High Court because there was a certain individual, some young men from Gobwe.
Yes,
my brother, I think let us be serious. Mashawira was a pawn, okay, who was used to come and attack the movement. And he claimed preposterous things about legitimate appointments which had been made by President Tsvangirai in 2016, issues that had been accepted by everyone within our organization. And then somebody sponsors a young man called Mashawira to deliberately destabilize the organization. If anyone believes that Mashawira acted on his own, then you also need to have your own head examined.
Who sponsored him?
Mashawira was sponsored by elements or proxies of ZANU-PF within the MDC.
So you have people from ZANU-PF in the MDC?
No, we've got proxies of ZANU-PF within the MDC. I'm sure you had Professor Jonathan Moore actually confirming that we've had close to 11 moles within the MDC leadership, and one of the moles that he mentioned was Dr. Tapio Mashakara. And he's saying he's not the only one. As an institution, just like any other political formation, those problems do occur, where sometimes you get infiltrated by your enemies. It happens also in state relations, where the American government is infiltrated by the Russian government, etc., etc. And things can happen, okay, that you would wonder, where is this coming from? So when I talk to you about the context, about this is not a fight within MDC, but this is a fight of ZANU-PF against the main opposition.
But let me understand. You thanks for that context. But now, was the constitution really followed after the death of Morgan Tsvangirai in 2018?
Yes, it was. Yes, it was followed. You must let me take you a little bit. I'll take you back. There was a challenge towards the appointment of the vice president, which was done. Mm-hmm. That challenge was done by another smart gentleman called Murimoga. Mm-hmm. That matter appeared before Justice Lavender Makwad. The court's finding at that time was that the constitution effectively had been followed, or the constitution that had been used to effect these appointments was the correct one, which had been signed by Morgan Tsvangirai. Mm-hmm. So on that basis, post a High Court decision, we had bona fide 3 vice presidents of the MDC from a High Court decision.
Carrying the same functions as the first vice president?
Yes, carrying the same functions. Carrying the same functions. And then we then proceed on that basis. Our president passes on. And when our president passes on, we had 3 vice presidents, legitimate vice presidents in terms of the law. Ourselves, as the National Council of the party, we then say to ourselves, we need a vice president who must take over from the late president. And we had 3. And out of 3, we had to choose one. And we made the choice ourselves as the members of the organization. Through our own organ, we made a choice that we made at that time, a choice that we still make today.
But what was guiding you in making that choice? What does the Constitution say when a leader dies?
When a leader dies,
what's supposed to happen?
Basically, the vice president is supposed to take over.
But you've got 3.
But we had 3.
Yeah.
So which means only one could take over. And because there was a lacuna, what you'd call a lacuna or a vacuum.
But this Constitution precisely mentions about the 3 vice presidents, or it recognizes 1 vice president. What does it say specifically?
The Constitution talks about deputy presidents, plural. The Constitution talks about deputy presidents.
There can be 4.
Which means it can be any number. And we had 3. So out of 3, we had to, 1 had to ascend. So for that to happen, the only way in which it could be done was the National Council, which is the highest policy-making body in between Congresses. You had to make a decision. You had to fill in that lacuna. You had to fill in that vacuum and make a choice between the 3. And we chose President Chamisa.
But it's the same Constitution that also says you should have gone for an extraordinary Congress to elect the president.
That is correct. But I need you also to be contextual. We lost our President Tsvangirai a few months before an election. Okay? We made a political decision which was also informed by financial considerations. Do we commit $4 million to go to an extraordinary Congress? Or do we commit $4 million towards an election campaign? Okay? And we made a political decision. And I also want you to understand one thing. Our Constitution does not prescribe that the president of the party is necessarily a presidential candidate. So first of all, we selected President Chamisa as our presidential candidate, in addition to making him the president of the party. Those are 2 separate positions. And in selecting a presidential candidate, we say to ourselves, who was our best foot forward?
But how would you respond to questions that say it was too quick to prop him, to say Nelson Chamisa is now the party leader, and that's why people have been saying he seized the power instead of waiting for Morgan Tsvangirai to be buried and then you follow the procedures. The question is about how quickly it was done.
Okay. I think we don't want to be revisionist.
Yeah.
Okay? The selection of President Chamisa was done after the burial of President Tsvangirai, not before. There's been a lot of propaganda about it to say, whilst his body was warm, okay, you did it. But that's not correct. As I told you, there were 3 vice presidents. At the time at which President Tsvangirai passed on, President Chamisa was already acting president. Acting president by operation of the Constitution. Okay? Our Constitution says, in the absence of the president, the vice president would act. Okay? And at that time, our president was in South Africa. 2 of our other vice presidents were in South Africa. The 2 vice presidents, Mzuri and Kupe, were in Cape Town. President Tsvangirai was in Johannesburg. The only vice president was in the country on the death of the president was President Chamisa, which means by operation of the Constitution, he was the acting president when President Tsvangirai died. He remained in that position until after the burial of President Tsvangirai, and then the National Council met to deliberate. You talk about quickness. I thought you were going to commend us for efficiency. Most of these countries in Africa, I'm sure you heard what happened in Burundi. The president was sitting there, he's done, he passes on because of COVID, etc. And they're a constitutional crisis. The speaker is also in hospital. They spent about, close to 7 days, and there was a vacuum. There was a vacuum in the state. Okay. You don't create vacuums in institutions. You efficiently deal with vacuums within institutions. We should be commended for efficiency.
But some critics have been saying, no, this is just populism versus constitutionalism. Like you rightly mentioned, that you were being guided by the fact that the elections were actually very near and you couldn't waste resources focusing on extraordinary Congress, rather you were to go for election. So how do you respond to critics who say it's the appointment of Nelson Chamisa, the rise of Nelson Chamisa, the ascendance of Nelson Chamisa to the helm of the party was just populism, whilst putting the constitution to the sword?
Well, I disagree with that notion. But maybe before I demonstrate to you how I disagree with it, let me make something very clear. We are in politics for purposes of getting political power so that we can deliver on our promise in terms of the policies that we intend to implement to transform this country. Okay? We will not go and deliver an unpopular candidate to achieve a political objective. You would need to have your head examined to ask yourself, what is the core business of a political party? Why would I want to go and deliver you as a candidate when you can't win us an election?
We want to get over this part and also focus on other issues. But let me just find out from you, was Mzuri and Kupe involved in these discussions that concluded that Nelson Chamisa could temporarily be the party leader?
The National Council of the MDC, now then, but even now the MDC Alliance, is made up of 210 people. Those 210 people includes me, includes the Thokozani Kupe, includes the Mzuri.
Mr. Chimba, these are key people.
Wait a minute. It included all those people. Okay? And when they sit there, all of us will vote one vote on any matter that has been put on the table. The fact that you are a vice president or a secretary does not give you 2 votes. The quorum of that National Council is 50%. Okay? So if you are invited for a meeting Then you say, I'm Secretary General and I'm not going to turn up. The meeting will go ahead with or without you because we're a democratic party. Okay? Because you only have one voice. So I can confirm to you that all the National Council meetings which were held, which subsequently led to us making the decision to put President Chamisa where he is, everyone who was supposed to be invited was invited. And those meetings were correct in terms of the constitution.
Okay, let's move to something here, because I told you about the populism of constitutionalism.
Whatever that means, you actually need to explain that. What does that mean?
Okay,
because for me it's becoming a cliche, it's becoming a slogan, because it's meaning nothing to me.
Well, it's fine, but there are fears right now that the manner in which Nelson Chamisa is...
You see, the mistake that people make, and I think it's a question of understanding the meaning of words. Maybe those people who talk about populism, they want to talk about majoritarianism.
Okay.
Okay? Mm-hmm. They want to talk about the principle of majoritarianism. Mm-hmm. What does it mean? That's what they are referring to. Mm-hmm. When they say populism, they mean majoritarian. They are saying if the majority decides and feels this is what they want to do, is it right or wrong? So it's majoritarianism rather than populism.
Okay, but still the question still stands. There are fears that the manner in which Nelson Chamisa is being viewed in your opposition, you are about to create another Robert Mugabe.
I don't know where that comes from.
But have you come across that?
No, I actually haven't. But I actually don't know where that comes from. Let me make it clear. Nelson Chamisa did not put himself where he is. We put him there. Nelson Chamisa did not come and say, yes, I'm calling for a meeting now. As of today, I am the president. He didn't do that. We called him and we said, this is what we would want. What say you? And he said, yes. Mm-hmm. So I want us not to be revisionist with respect to that. Nelson Chamisa did not come and make himself what he is. We made him.
Okay. But there are also issues here that in as much as you would have been guided by the party structures, decisions and so forth, in as much as it was so inclusive, but still there are issues that are still confronting you as a party that you don't subscribe, you don't submit to court rulings. Why is the party that is presenting itself as a democratic movement refuses to submit to court rulings?
I think we are generalizing.
I'm not generalizing.
I
need
you to be specific.
Let's talk about the Supreme Court ruling,
Excellent.
which says you should go back to the 2014 structures and conduct an extraordinary Congress to elect a president to replace Morgan Tsvangirai. Okay. That's what the Supreme Court ruling says.
Costa, most people talk about the Supreme Court ruling which they've not read. I sincerely hope that you read.
Yes, I did.
Let me take you through it. First of all, when you look at the judgment, you need to be able to ask yourself the question, who were the parties to that?
Of course, you have you yourself is the MDC. You have Thokozani Kupe.
So you're ignoring. See, one of the things that the Supreme Court judgment actually says is that this judgment is now moot. Okay? Mm-hmm. And they explain why it is moot. They go to length to actually explain what happened. To say people have moved on. Okay? Justice Patel recognizes that there were congresses that were held. There was a Congress of MDCT which was held in April 2018. He says that. He also equally says that there was another Congress of the MDC Alliance which was held in Gwero. People have moved on. Post the death of President Tsvangirai, there was a disagreement where Toko and others, and other leaders and other members did not agree with others. They then decided to move on. They moved on, okay, established a formation, which they then called MDCT. Mm-hmm. Went to elections and participated. We moved on. Then after that process, we also moved on. The majority component of that original MDC which remained then chose to say, we are going for another formation. So these individuals now integrating with other individuals who were coming from other formations, such as PDP, such as MDC Green. So the process post the death of President Rangirai created two parties. This took place whilst there were already court papers. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. Which were already in the system. Okay? Mm-hmm. Which were overtaken by events. The events are, or the event is, there are now two distinct political formations. Our formation, okay, which is the MDC alliance, which is now a distinct formation, was not party to those proceedings.
But do you have the constitution?
Yes. We're not party to those proceedings. Can I just complete it? We're not party to those proceedings. In the what? In the Supreme Court. The party that is being led by Thokozani Group, okay, was party to those proceedings. And they've now been ordered to go and conduct an extraordinary Congress. How do you come to me, Costa, and say that go back to where you were in 2014? I didn't have a beard in 2014. I've made decisions in my life. This is a voluntary organization. I've moved on. One of the delegates of 2014 is James Maridan. Where is he got?
He's now an ambassador in Senegal.
It's part of a system that I'm fighting. But if you look at that agreement, that judgment is you're talking about, he's supposed to, you should call him from Senegal to come to that extraordinary court. That's what you're saying to me. So when we talk about the mootness of this judgment,
that's what exactly mean.
I'm just giving you a very basic example.
But let's look at another court ruling. The Constitutional Court ruled that Nelson Chamisa lost the 2018 elections. But you don't accept that. That means you have a challenge in your part of accepting, submitting to court rulings.
No. Costa.
Why is it so?
Costa, do not put words into our mouth, okay?
So you recognize President Emmerson Mnangagwa now?
No, you do not put words into our mouth. Let me speak for myself. There's a distinction between agreeing to a court ruling and abiding by it.
Okay.
Two distinctions. We have disagreed with the outcome of the Concord, and we expressed our reasons why we disagreed. The Chief Justice Malabo, has publicly stated himself that citizens are allowed in any democracy to criticize and disagree with a court judgment. Because remember, a court judgment is an opinion of human beings.
But remember,
okay? You can differ with them. So I don't want you to mix two things. We do not confuse disagreeing with the judgment, okay, and being and abiding by a judgment. Those are two different things. We disagree.
But you abide with the judgment?
Yes, but we disagree.
In which means if you're abiding with the judgment, the president is...
I want to take you there too. We are saying President Mnangagwa is not legitimate, okay? And I need you to understand what legitimacy is. Because again, people have difficulties in understanding concepts. The political legitimacy of a political leader anywhere in the world is bestowed by people, not by a court of law. A court of law can bestow legal legitimacy to an office. It does not bestow political legitimacy. There is also another form of legitimacy called performance legitimacy. Mr. Mnangagwa fails on two accounts, on political legitimacy and on performance legitimacy. He came through a court of law having acquired legal legitimacy. That does not give him political legitimacy. And we continue to question his political legitimacy as the leader.
Let's talk about something which has been obtaining in your party and is very worrisome to some people, especially those who are breaking away from you, the likes of Douglas Mwanzora, the Morgan Committees and the Coopers. Their line of argument is that you are now including some former ZANU-PF people, the G40, members, the likes of Professor Jonathan Moyo, you are incorporating them in the movement, something which they are saying is not prudent. Why are you now working with people who inflicted wounds on the majority of your supporters during their time in government?
I can see, Costa, that you're also a victim of this propaganda. Professor Jonathan Moyo is not a member of the MDC Alliance. Professor Jonathan Moyo has not been incorporated.
But these are people who have come out to say we supported you in 2018 elections.
Can I say something? And I recall what President Chamisa said one. You remember was it just before the elections, and people were saying, but former President Mugabe says he was going to vote for you. Okay? Do you remember his response? He said, voters choose me. Okay? I don't choose voters. If you are a politician, you do not choose people who support you. They choose you. You understand? So if a former member of ZANU-PF stands up and says, I will vote for that person, what do you want me to do about it? I pick up the phone with you. I don't want your vote. I can't do that. I'm a politician. You understand? But I also don't want you to be a victim of the polarization in this country. Okay? In order for the movement to grow, we need to persuade as many Zimbabweans as possible to see our way of things, to see this is the direction that this country must grow.
So they are welcome in the position.
Let me say, every Zimbabwean is welcome in the movement.
No, but I just want to get this clear.
I want to clear it. I don't want you to talk through labels. Okay?
Sure.
I want to go beyond labels myself. And if you ask me now, I am inviting every Zimbabwean who cares for this country, who believes in transformation, that you are free to come and join
movement,
the MDC Alliance. We do not discriminate against any Zimbabwean on the basis of any ism.
Given their experiences, these are key people, key politicians, the Xavier Kasukueres, the Patrick Shaw. What sort of significant contribution will they bring into the opposition, the MDC Alliance?
How about if they just say they want to vote for it? Should I say that you should not vote for it?
No, but what I mean is, you are opening arms to everybody. And I'm saying, what kind of significant contribution will these people bring to the main opposition?
We are opening our membership to every Zimbabwean, irrespective of race, color, creed, or political affiliation. We are opening our floodgates. Please all come and join us in this journey of transformation. As to the specific roles that can be played by specific Zimbabweans, okay, within the broad movement, that is a function of a democratic process. If we go to our forums and an election is held, then they say they would want Costa to be the Deputy Secretary General. But that's the will of the people.
Sure.
Why should we change that?
Well,
why should I put undemocratic obstacles to that process? So I don't want you to mix things. I want to say to you, we invite every Zimbabwean. If we were a church, okay, we can't close our doors to non-Christians and non-believers. We will open the doors so that we can pray for them.
Let's look at it's something different, Mr. Timber. You are an alternative party, of course, that aspires to gain state power at some point.
Yes.
But there's a very worrying trend right now, especially in the local authorities. And you are, of course, overseeing lots of them. You have over 32, if I'm very correct, over 32 municipalities they are under your party. But there's a very worrying trend that is obtaining of corruption involving your councillors. Surely, as an alternative, you are not the party or the grouping or a movement that the Zimbabwean people would want, because they are looking for something different from ZANU-PF.
Costa, we abhor corruption, and the way we see it, we will act on it. We have a history of acting against corruption in institutions that we govern. If you just go back in history a little bit, at one time we fired a whole council in Chitungwisa based on proven allegations of corruption. I challenge you, Costa, where you find yourself any indication that there is a corrupt activity taking place in that council, by all means, either you as a journalist or as a citizen, bring that to our attention and we will act.
This only doesn't even restrict itself to the local authorities. It also comes even in your party. You know, there are allegations that you have abused more than $2 million in your party. That must be a problem also as an alternative.
I think, Costa, we need to avoid being victims of propaganda. The facts are, Costa, there is no amount of $2 million that has been abused. Our Treasurer General...
Douglas Monzoro says monies have been abused.
I'll come back there. Our Treasurer General has come out publicly 3 times stating there is no abuse of $2 million. But he's gone further than that. If it wasn't for the disturbances that we've had at our HQ now, our audit is almost complete. As an institution, we've said we have subjected, as a matter of practice, we have subjected our account to an external audit process. And then we made a further commitment that we will make public the report. So instead of you following rumors, innuendos, and propaganda, I want you to hold me to that next time you see me. Is your audit now complete? Yes. Once it's complete, you said we'll publish it? Yes, and we will publish it. There is no $2 million that is missing. What is happening is a smear campaign by some of our erstwhile colleagues who sat with us in a top leadership of the organization. Not a single day. So did they ever raise that issue?
Apart from just corruption, there is also the issue of inefficiency. You know, the problems of water right now. The council is failing to provide clean water that goes to the residents regularly. It's failing to do that.
Okay. I want to educate our viewers, Costa, so that they understand how the water is managed in this country. The responsibility for the generation of bulk water lies with central government through Zinara.
So, Zinara or Zinwa?
So Zinwa.
Good.
In terms of the Water Act, all the rights over water bodies are all held by the president. Okay? So all water rights, all water bodies are in the hands of the state. The state then administers those water bodies through a parastatal called Zinara. Zino. Then everybody else, whether you are a farmer or a council or a local authority, you go and get some water from Zino. The situation in Harare, okay, is that for years we've been pushing this government, central government, to go and construct Kudri Dam, to augment the water supplies in places like Harare. That has not been done. We do not have adequate water for distributing to citizens, to residents of Harare. We can only have adequate water to distribute when we get that water from central government. Central government has failed to provide adequate water.
But do you have an alternative?
We can't have an alternative. We have to push for the law to be changed. If they allow our metropolitan cities to take control of their own water, then yes, we'll make our own plans to make sure that we're going to create new water bodies so that we can have water to distribute to residents. At this juncture, we can't. All we have to do is to appeal to central government to say, please, we need adequate water for Harare. We can only distribute. The responsibility of city councils now is to distribute water that they are given.
Well, let's go further, but I want us to close in a couple of minutes. But of course, we can't close without discussing the very topical and significant issue now, obtaining the issue of Nelson Chamisa and the recall of MDC Alliance. Surely his power is now being threatened. How are you planning as a party to get out of this? Because day by day, Douglas Monzoro, Tokozani Kupe, Morgan Komich, Senator Mzuri, they are playing you I mean, you are just at their mercy, recalling your MPs, and your support is dwindling.
ZANU-PF, through state institutions, is working through the points that I've talked about. They are getting assistance from the Speaker of Parliament, who is a member of the Politburo of ZANU-PF, to unlawfully recall our MPs. Costa, this is temporary. This matter eventually will be resolved.
How?
In a court of law. And I will explain to you what has since happened. The effect of what has been allowed to happen by Speaker Mdenda is to revise the election result as announced on July 31. It's undoable. What they're trying to do is not sustainable. They receive a letter from somebody who says, I'm the Secretary General of the MDCT, and please, I am recalling an MP of MDC Alliance. Then the Speaker of Parliament allows that to happen. You understand? Mm-hmm. It's absolute crap, and it is not sustainable. We have done 2 court challenges with respect to the recall of our PR MPs and with respect to the recall of the constituency MPs. Yeah. These matters are pending before the High Court, and they will be heard by the court.
Are you confident that you get the positive result?
I'm confident we decide on the question of the law, what the law says. The law is very simple. Section 129K of the Constitution says you can only be withdrawn from Parliament by a party that you were a member to at the time of the election.
If they were under MDCT, isn't it?
No, they were not, Costa.
There was no MDC alliances.
Costa, let me explain something else for purposes of the viewers. Mm. In this country, political parties are only registered in terms of 2 acts of parliament. One is the Electoral Act, then the other one is the Political Parties Finance Act. Okay? When we go to an election, it is the only time that you can register a party. Otherwise, a political party is not a registered entity in Zimbabwe. You just operate on the basis of freedom of association. It's unlike Kenya. Kenya has got actually an act of parliament where if you have got a political party, you actually have got to go through processes, okay, for registering a political party. In Zimbabwe, political parties are not registered. Okay? But it is only registered at the time of an election. Mm-hmm. So when we go to an election, there are schedules, which are schedules to the Electoral Act. They ask you, Costa, what do you want to do? I want to be an MP. For which constituency? Hatfield. What is your party? Then you say, my party is MDC Alliance. They say, write it there. What is your symbol? You must put your symbol. Yeah. You put all that. Mm-hmm. Then you go and appear before a court of law, which is a nomination court. Mm-hmm. Okay? And then you get nominated.
It's fine.
Okay? Yeah. That's what happens in this country.
But can you just educate our viewers here? There's something that which is not coming out clearly.
Yeah.
What was the alliance agreement saying in terms of the autonomy of these groupings post-elections? Did it have anything to do? Did it say something post-election? What was the arrangement?
Thank you for raising that question, because there's also a lot of misinformation. An alliance was created. Every word that you see in that agreement, I authored it myself. And that agreement, the spirit behind that agreement was an agreement which was created in and around the person of Morgan Tsvangirai. That agreement and its spirit was an agreement created in and around the person of Morgan Tsvangirai. If you even look at the agreement itself, it mentions him by name. And the reason why all these parties came together with all their presidents is they all believed that Morgan Tsvangirai would be a worthwhile presidential candidate for us. So each of those presidents was in essence saying, I am willing to give up
my party.
No, I'm willing to give, not my party, I'm willing to give up my opportunity, my candidate, my opportunity to become president in support of this person. Then President Tsvangirai unfortunately passed on before the election. So when he passed on, circumstances changed. And people had to sit down and say, what do we do? Okay? And if you read that agreement, and I'm sorry, my colleagues, my S4 colleagues, Douglas and them, are being very dishonest. If you read that agreement close by close, and it post the demise of President Rangira, it was not implemented, it was abandoned. People then said, no, we can no longer have an electoral pact as we envisaged. That electoral pact that was envisaged, which is sitting in that agreement, which is in the public domain, was that each of the parties will maintain their independent status.
Post-election?
No, before and after, they will maintain their independent status. During the election, they will also go in that election in their own name. Okay? Mm-hmm. Which means we will have a symbol which will have our presidential candidate at the center. And around it, we will have 6 other symbols for each one of these parties. It's in the agreement, Costa. Just take time to read it. Because people are being driven by propaganda, not fact. Mm-hmm. Okay? Mm. And then people say, no, we can't do this. Go in the same agreement, it says each of the parties will then have its own chief whip in parliament. People say, no, this can't be possible. We can do this. I can take you, if you want a whole session, just focus on that agreement. I'll bring it here, and I'll take you close by close. So people then, the point that I'm saying to you is, people then abandon this agreement. They said that it was unworkable. They then say, the option that we now want to take is to integrate our parties. And we are selecting Nelson Chamisa as our candidate. Okay. So they shifted from that electoral alliance as is envisaged. And then you say, we will now want to do it this way, but we integrate total information. This is why. Then they then agreed with eventually this will then lead us to go into one Congress. Okay. Do you understand? Mm-hmm. And steps were taken, Costa. Mm-hmm. And this is in the public domain. That's why at that time we saw BT being appointed deputy chairperson.
Okay. Okay.
He's given up his president of PDP to be deputy chairperson of.
But there are some issues that there are actually some who are saying he hasn't disbanded his PDP even up to date.
Yes, I will answer that too. You understand? Because people are being revisionist. Let me just finish this point and then I'll get back to that. Walshman giving up his president of dissolving his party and becoming vice president of the alliance. Comey becoming the other vice president. Then you say, you guys, this is an interim leadership. Until we get to what?
Congress.
And these things happen. Then the public domain, Costa. And why people are choosing to ignore facts and wanting to believe fiction. Okay? And then we eventually went to a Congress and committee lost. So did Douglas. And that's where you're seeing this bitterness coming from. Not about things that we agree. Douglas is on record, public record. Yes, we've agreed. Okay? We're now going to the elections. It's a political formation called the MDC Alliance.
But the real question is, how are you planning to survive, to pull out of this? That's the question now.
Let me say to you that this rebellion is going to collapse.
How? Because they are continuing.
They will continue.
And very soon they can appoint even the PR MPs.
They won't be able to. And again, people are working on fiction. I was in court when we dealt with the issue of Madame Timbios and Madame Kumalo. Those are PR.
Yes.
Okay? Mm-hmm. Justice Chibumba wrote to the court and said, we will abide by what you say as a court. She might have weaknesses elsewhere, but one thing that I can tell you is that she's not stupid. The process of replacing a PR, okay, is not just Douglas picking up the phone and say, Zach, I'm now going to give you, it doesn't work like that. After being notified by, because like there's a recall that takes place at Parliament, and then Parliament now has to advise Zach to say, we now have a vacancy for a PR position which was held by so and so of this party. Parliament will have to say of MDC Alliance. But that's what the record says. It doesn't say MDC team. It is of MDC Alliance. We'll pick up.
Well, what will happen if they say of the MDC team?
When it gets to Zach, Zach says we don't. Zach says there are only 2 that we have on our record. as per the July 31 election result. 2 MPs from MDC. They will have to notify Zach. So Zach will have to, remember this is a court record. Zach cannot just wake up in the morning and change a court record. You're nominated through a nomination court. It's a court of law. And that court of law is clear. It will say MDC Alliance. So Zach will be obliged by law to contact MDC Alliance for a replacement, not MDCT. So forget about the politics that Mdenda is doing and the law that will take place with Zach. When you get there, there will be the law. Because the effect of what they are saying is that they are revising elections. The court of this country will not accept that. So these guys are playing games. They can, what they are doing now is just throwing punches. Look, this matter will be resolved.
Okay, fine. Let's we close. I think we have discussed at length.
Okay.
And the very worrying thing is Nelson Chamisa pledging to the people. There is a signal. I mean, New Zimbabwe is coming, freedom is coming. So, I mean, lots of statements coming.
Zimbabweans have always been and we will remain our liberators. Okay?
Mm.
The challenges that we are facing as a people are immense. We have a historical relationship ourselves as MDC to provide leadership, and we will provide that leadership.
Thank you. Viewers, thank you so much for following Newsem TV. We were speaking to MDC Alliance Secretary for Presidential Affairs in the Nelson Chamisa C office. And he has digressed on a number of issues. And one of the highlights that I want to share with you is that he is sticking to say these confusions, this chaos that is obtaining in the opposition is just temporal. And he is indicating that the court will finally rule in their favor. Thank you so much for following. Do not forget to follow us on Twitter at newzimbabwe.com and like our Facebook page, newzimbabwe.com. And for more of these and other stories in greater details, log on to our website, www.newzimbabwe.com.